Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tea Time with Taylor. This is a monthly webinar that we do, and we started it about, I think, 7 months ago now. This is our seventh one. So, welcome in. I'm really excited to get started on today's topic. We're going to be discussing navigating difficult conversations through the data that's available in Performance Tracker, and obviously, that comes directly from your families on the surveys, but then also your sales data too. And just kind of creating an entire story, painting a full picture, if you will, of the entire customer experience and the performance that your teams are giving. So, this session is really geared towards location managers and owners or operators of funeral homes and cemeteries. But I do want to say too, arrangers are more than welcome to stay and really encouraged to listen and learn. It's a great growth opportunity for them. And I also have a section of the presentation dedicated to empowering arrangers and making sure that they know how to drive these conversations as well. So it's definitely for everyone and anyone on the call today. I'm going to go ahead and get started here since we are 1 minute past. So today's agenda, we're going to go over some do's and don'ts of feedback, and really dive into how you can be using Performance Tracker for providing feedback. Obviously, we have a certain level of leaders and managers already on the call with us today, and I'm not here to tell you guys how to do what you do. You're experts in those areas, but more so using Performance Tracker as your tool when you're providing feedback to your teams. When you're providing feedback, let's say you have to make a presentation to your board of leaders, and you want to explain the information up to them. So I'm going over some of those do's and don'ts. Then we'll dive into some dashboard tools that most of you are aware of, already exist, but I do just want to remind you that they're there and that you should be using these tools when you're in one-on-one conversations with your teams, when you're presenting data to your executive leadership teams, taking out any of the modules that you can. I just want to go over some of those capabilities that the system has. Then empowering your arrangement staff. I did mention this already, but taking the time to make sure that your arrangers and your employees in general feel empowered to drive the conversations when it comes to feedback. A lot of times when someone's going into a feedback review session, the anxiety can be really high and tensions can be high. But if an arranger is equipped with the right questions to ask and feels that control in their hands, then that's really going to ease the conversation on both sides. So I'll dive into that a little bit with you guys. Then turning your data into insights, really just some suggestions on how to tell the story as a whole with your data, getting better at analyzing the data that's available to you in your dashboard. I can't tell you how many times I hear feedback from our clients that is, there's so much that this dashboard does. There's so much information that it gives me, but it's a little overwhelming if I don't know exactly what to do with it, or like what's most important to my business at that time and what I should be paying attention to. Then I'll go over our leadership and management conference that's coming up. It's actually a 3-day workshop on site here in Scottsdale that our Johnson Business Consulting team does. And I just want to throw that out there in case anyone on the call might be interested in joining that. I'm considering this is really about how to improve your leadership and your management skills. So I thought that was a nice two birds with one stone opportunity. So let's go ahead and get started. If anyone is interested in ever submitting topics for suggestions for tea time, I'm more than willing to take those in and to give you guys the presentations that you're wanting to see. For now, we received some suggestions from the last one. But if anyone has anything new that they want to hear about, or topics that they really want to focus on, just let me know. You can reach out to us at support@j3techsolutions.com. So getting started with the do's and don'ts of performance feedback, how you're going to be using performance tracker data specifically to kind of give your teams feedback. Communicating data results from Performance Tracker X to employees in a clear, constructive, and actionable manner, focusing on solutions and positive reinforcement. I can't focus on that enough. That positive reinforcement is really a great way, especially when you're just introducing the survey program to your organization or to your teams. It's really important to make sure that you're celebrating wins in a public setting. So whether you have, a weekly huddle or a morning huddle every day with your team that's there, celebrating some positive survey scores or comments. We actually at J3 Tech Solutions have a report that goes out annually. We call it the Trends and Insights Report. And this year we actually interviewed, or I had the pleasure to interview some of our winners from the PT awards that we give out. And those are Excellence and Customer Service Awards. So really these locations are at the top of their game on getting the highest scores possible, getting great response rates. And they shared some of their operations tools and tricks with me. And one of the organizations, Jersey Memorial Group, they actually send out an email every single week, every Friday before the weekend hits, of celebrations and kudos from the survey itself. So direct comments from the families, highlighting names. And, it's really inspired a culture of competition and inspiration amongst their team. They are able to, some of the directors, they told me that some of their directors really count how many times their name shows up in that email, and they compare it to one another. And then I have a couple of other locations that, incentivize with a gift card plan of, hey, every time your name is mentioned in a comment in a positive way, your name goes into a raffle, and then we do a gift card drawing every month. So there's just some really, there's a lot of different ways you can be using this data to create a performance-oriented culture within your organization. I do want to point out that you should always be privately discussing areas of opportunity exclusively in one-on-one settings. I think that probably goes without saying with a lot of the managers on the call today, but if you were receiving feedback, you wouldn't want that to be public or amongst your peers. So it's really a sensitive nature in terms of, especially when they're not necessarily expecting negative feedback from a family. Really focus in on that negative feedback as an area of opportunity and really an opportunity for growth. Some of my clients that I meet with on a regular basis really pride themselves on getting all green smiley faces in their dashboard. They want all 100s, all perfect fives all the time. But what I will say with that is there's no area for growth. So if you're not getting negative results, if you're not getting any passive scores where, hey, this experience was good, but what could have made it great, and having those conversations with your teams, then, it's good that you're providing excellent, experiences to your family, but you might not be getting surveys back from family members who had an issue with your experience, and you might want to try and get more responses from everyone possible, just to make sure that you have a well-rounded picture of your performance at your staff. Encouraging questions and transcending expectations. So really, every organization has set service expectations that usually is well communicated, whether it be, when onboarding a new employee or training them, or on a regular basis. But how are you going to encourage your team to go beyond those expectations? Here at Johnson Consulting Group, we do our CX huddles every Wednesday morning, and we meet as a team and go over some of our service expectations, and we have a never and always. So those are expected from us and standards that, you know, we promise for our clients, but how can we go the extra mile and really wow our customers, and how can you guys really wow your families with the experience that you're providing them? Support peer-to-peer training. So really taking any of the top performers on your team and having them train their peers is always encouraged. And I would say, you know, it's a really great way to ensure that no matter who the funeral director is that's assigned to a family, you know that that family is going to receive the same level of service, and that they're always going to be well treated regardless of the funeral director that gets assigned to their case. So just taking some of those things into account. I know I'm going over a lot of information here with you guys, which is funny because it actually contradicts one of my storytelling areas, but we only have 30 minutes and I want to make sure that you guys get a lot of information here. So now some do nots of feedback discussion. Again, we want to make sure we are encouraging a performance-oriented culture. We don't want to weaponize the data that's in your dashboard at all. I would never want to frame it as, oh, Big Brother is watching over us, or you know, oh, you should have done this, and how dare you do this, or anything like that. You don't want to use it as punishment. The survey is really meant to, I mean, it was created to help your organization, not to, you know, catch anyone red-handed or point out problems. It's really, it's to celebrate wins and then improve upon areas of opportunity. So just making sure you're using the data in an ethical way, and with your best foot forward. You also might want to remind your teams to, let's say you have an arranger who had 5 cases last month, and 2 of the cases had negative experiences, and those were the only 2 cases that submitted a survey. But then you know that they had 3 other cases that the cases went really well, and I mean, as far as you know, they went really well, and you know, you just don't have that in the data. So just remember that you can't rely only on the data to give you the entire story of the feedback that you should be giving an individual. Yes, you should rely on it, and it's a really great tool in terms of, you know, creating trends and pointing out those areas of opportunity, celebrating wins that specifically get pointed out, but it's not the entire picture. So if, you know, if anyone on your team ever gets down about some of the surveys that come in, just remind them that it's not the only way that you are judging them. It's not the only way that they are, you know, able to grow as an individual. Don't set unrealistic or unattainable goals. I can't tell you how many times I get emails asking for, you know, who are the top performers right now, or not who, but what are the top performing scores? And, you know, sometimes that comes from an organization that's not even at that benchmark of that average score, let alone the top performing score. So I think that setting realistic goals is very important. I mean, in any goal setting environment, but specifically amongst your teams when you're trying to help boost morale and really create a performance-oriented culture. You don't want to talk down to them ever. You don't want to set them up for failure. So those are just some don'ts that I really want to point out before we dive further into the data. Now, going into Medallia itself and into Performance Tracker, I'm going to go ahead and log into the system. I have this screenshot here for anyone who is unable to join our session live or watch the recording, and they just look at the presentation deck. You can see where to find the results scorecard. But when we are in our live dashboard, you can see here, right now I'm in my admin account. So it's very similar to that of an executive user account. Any executives on the call will notice that you have your executive summary tab, and any funeral home location managers will see that you have your survey performance tab which is the first thing that you see when you log into your system. But I am filtered to Menke Funeral Home. That's actually Jake Johnson's funeral home here in Arizona. So I do have permission to be sharing this data, and I like using them as an example since we have that permission in place. So I am filtered to last year as an example. I wanted a full year's worth of data. Now you can use your filter bar at any point to change the the scope of time, or the case type, the location, anything you want to see. Something that's really cool in our filter bar here too that you guys might not be aware of is that there is location benchmarking now. So if I want to benchmark my location individually against every company that's in Performance Tracker, I could do so using this tool. So just make sure you select one of your locations that's listed there if you want to take advantage of that benchmark. But going down below that filter, once that's all set, I do want to point out that this scorecard is here. It's here for a reason. I want you guys to be able to use this. You can print it out if you are a physical paper user versus using the dashboard and sharing a computer screen during one-on-one reviews. You can take out the individual report as a PDF, as an image, or you can download it up here as an Excel, even if you'd like to take it out into a spreadsheet format and create some of your own charts. But this is a really great tool. You can use it at the location level, at the arranger level. If I were to filter to Kelly, for example, she is their location manager, and she actually manages all of the cremation cases. So you're going to see a lot of cremation results in her scorecard here. But what I want to point out is that every score that's available on the survey is available here. You can see your total value index, which is, of course, a metric that I hold very high in standards. We use it as our determinator for the Performance Tracker Excellence and Customer Service Awards every single year. It is a combination score of the Net Promoter, the overall performance score, and then the perceived value question on the survey, which is that 5-point scale question of what was your value based on the price of the services provided to you. So going through this, you can see every section. I'm going to remove Kelly from that filter there just so we can get more results in here. But every section is divided out based on the survey. So we have initial contact scores, arranger scores. So that individual, this is huge. This is a really great thing to be able to note trends for an individual. And what's cool about the arranger driver scores is they have access to that data in their dashboard as well. So you could be using this performance scorecard, you could be using their dashboard to give a one-on-one review. I just highly encourage you guys are looking at the data live in the review. That way they know, this is coming from your families. This is what's showing up in your contract sales reporting. If you guys ever dive into sales metrics in your one-on-one reviews, those are things that are in print, they're in the data, they're not coming from you as an opinion of a manager. There's no playing favorites, there's no picking on anyone. It's literally just what's in the data, and that's a really great way to approach difficult conversations with your team members. But you can see every single section shows up here. They have both cremation and so they have low-cost cremation and funeral service. So you can see there's separate scores from cremation and funeral on here. If you're at a combo location where you have funeral and cemetery, it'll show all of your funeral and cemetery scores here. Again, that's at the location level or at the arranger level, however you want to drill this data down. And then another thing that I do want to remind location managers and executives of is that you do have your rankers in your dashboard. Now they're located in different areas depending on what your dashboard role is. But I do want to point out that in an executive role under survey performance, the funeral sub-tab, or whichever business segment you need to dive down into, You can scroll down and you can see the location rankings. You can see the arranger rankings, which I think is really cool because it actually divides out the net promoter score, overall performance score, and total value index per individual. So it's a lot of information on this one little module here. And you can sort any of the columns that you prefer from highest to lowest, and that'll rank your team members. Now, just a kind of a rule of thumb, I always like to remind people of when using these rankers, always pay attention to the number of records because that's really going to affect um, the ranking, quote unquote, if you will. I mean, you could see Kelly, she's their location manager. So we're under funeral home at need right now, and she only had actually 2 funeral home cases last year. So the rest of the team is more fairly stacked against each other in terms of number of cases, though. So just remember that when you're going through some of these rankers. Now I'm going to go back to my slideshow here. I do want to point out um, the I guess ownership of the data and how you can encourage your arrangers and staff members to drive these conversations. Now, I know this slide is a lot to look at. I'm sorry, I don't know why this went over on here. It didn't on the actual presentation, and I'll fix that before I send it out to you guys. But I did want to put a lot of information on this slide. That way you could print out this slide and provide it to any of your arrangers that might not be on the call with you today. They can really benefit from some of these questions that they should be asking managers during one-on-one reviews. What actions would you allow your, what actions would allow you to look back in 90 days and see a real difference has been made? And that can be either at your individual performance or at your location. You can take that as an individual. Like, let's say you go into your one-on-one review as an arranger, you don't have really any areas of opportunity from that month, you didn't get any negative surveys, and your leader gives you really positive feedback all around, but nothing really constructive, and you want to make sure that you're constantly improving and constantly growing. You can ask a question like this in your one-on-one review to see, hey, what's something that I could be doing to contribute to the organization as a whole. This is a really great one too, of what do you wish you had more time to work on? What can I, as an employee, take off of your plate as a manager to maybe help you, manage more of what you want to accomplish? And then, me maybe having an area of growth opportunity, which is really nice. So that's a good way to get your foot in the door and start to grow within your position is take on more when you can. What does good performance look like versus great performance? So that good performance question is really important to establish a baseline of what's the standard, what's the expectation, and then great performance is obviously how can I go above and beyond that. Constantly having those conversations of how can I do better, that's really going to show your initiative as an employee. It's going to and motivate your manager to keep helping you grow and develop. So just remember that you as a staff member can own your own career satisfaction by really taking these under control and in your own hands. This was actually really nice for me to put together this slide in particular, because it kind of reminded me that, hey, I can I can take control of my own my own career, and I can use these opportunities when working with my management team too. I spend a lot of time coaching CX opportunities and how you can serve your customers, and how you can grow as an individual, but I don't always take my own advice in those areas. So it was really fun for me to put this slide together in particular, and I hope you guys are encouraged to share this with your teams, because I think that they'll benefit from that. How can performance tracker X data make meaningful impact to my organization? Now, this is really how you can move the needle within your company. And these are just some, turning raw data into valuable insights, the best thing that you can do with data is turn it into a story. I saw this visual on LinkedIn recently, and I actually shared it internally with our Johnson team, but I thought it was a really good opportunity to share here as well, because it's really what we do at Performance Tracker. We take a mess of raw data that comes in, we sort it, we arrange it, and we present it visually within the dashboards that you guys are seeing. And really, what makes these columns into a house on in the Legos is by analyzing that data and creating a story with it. So here are some steps to create a story from your data. Identifying your goal and your audience. Obviously, if you're presenting this to your team of arrangers, you're probably going to use different language and present it a little bit differently than if you were presenting it to your board and your team. Maybe if your board of leaders, they might want to focus a little bit more on sales, but your arrangement team really cares most about how they're serving families and those relationships that are being made. So that does kind of tie into the last point here too, of humanizing the data. You should be, oh, I'm so sorry, there's someone outside my window. But humanizing the data, making sure that the numbers that are on the page are actually related back to families who lost a loved one, and it's just so important to build that story with those numbers, and not just seeing it as, oh, okay, I got a 10. What does that even mean? Oh, that's great for my bonus or whatever that's coming this month, but what does it really mean? Oh, it means that I actually positively impacted someone's life during their most difficult time. So it's really important to keep humanizing it. Crafting a compelling narrative. So really just using the basics of storytelling in this. You want to start with a hook, grab the attention of the team that you're presenting to, and you can see that within your data. Maybe there's a large spike in a certain area that you really want to point out. Any kind of outlier to really pull them in. If you know that your organization recently has been undergoing some, trials and tribulations with training or with consistency amongst different funeral directors, and you're seeing in your data for the first time in a year or so that, we've consistently got some really great scores, maybe use that as a point of hook or grab to get someone involved in the data story. Providing context and really building a story. Something that is important in this crafting a compelling narrative part is to use a clear structure when you're building that story. There should be a beginning, middle, and end when you're talking about your data. That way you're not just rambling and it's not just going in circles when you're, throwing a bunch of numbers at people. Visualizing the data effectively, super important. And it's great that you guys are on Performance Tracker, because we do that for you within your dashboard. So you can change any of the modules in your dashboard from a table view to a graph. You can do a bar graph or a line graph. Whatever is the most compelling way to look at the data is what the default is on there, but you can always change it and adjust and export any of those modules if you need to. Just a real quick reminder, I know we do have only a couple minutes left, but I just want to point out, just in case anyone's not aware, you can take out the individual modules by clicking on the 3 dots in the corner or the export arrow at the top of the page. So just remember that those are available to you as well. And then this is just tying back to kind of like the overall theme of our presentation today, is just that owners and executives should have 100% certainty that regardless of the funeral director assigned to a case, the level of service provided will be just as high. I know I said that earlier, but I do want to repeat it because that's really the overall goal of creating a story with your data. Is ultimately, the experience that your families are having. And that's how you're going to make the most impact to your organization. So just a reminder on those things. Now, while we've only got a couple of minutes left here, I do want to point out that we have our leadership and management conference coming up. It's a 3-day on-site development course that any leader or manager within an organization, or maybe someone who's being developed to be on that path, can certainly learn from. If you guys are interested at all, please let me know, and I can get you in touch with Vince and Nelson on our business consulting team, and they can get you more information on the workshop and what it's tailored to. I'll actually be there on site for a couple of the days as well to introduce myself to everyone that's able to join, and also for my own growth and development as well. So I'm really excited for this. I know a lot of arrangers that would really thrive from this. I know a lot of location managers that would really thrive from this, that use performance tracker. So for example, I saw Kim was on here. Kim, I would love to see you at this type of course, and I know that you work with Vince as well. But for anyone who might be interested in this, just let us know. It is April 7th through 10th this year. We do have these, I think, biannually with business consulting. I might be mistaken on that, but they definitely do regular courses and workshops as well. We have a CX workshop. We also have individual business assessments. Let's say you're not able to get anyone out here on site, but you do want our Johnson Consulting team to weigh in on your business and where you guys are at. They'll do that from every point of view, not just from Performance Tracker's point of view. So reach out to me if you're interested in any of those services, and we would love to really help you guys develop your skills and your businesses even further. And just some last minute support resources before I let you guys go. As always, our team is available to you. I'm available, but I will say I do have a lot of in and out going through my email inbox. If you want the fastest response time, I would suggest reaching out to support at j3techsolutions.com. That goes to myself. That goes to my director, Allison Dunn, who I know you all have heard from before. And then also our entire development and support team. So if there's any technical issues or anything like that, they can jump on that right away for you. Well, that's really going to wrap up today. Let me go into the chat to make sure I don't have any questions. Oop, we do. Hi, Dominique. Should I be bringing my laptop when I come to the training? If you're talking about the leadership and management, then yes, I believe that you do need to bring your laptop when you come to that. I remember that. Great, thanks. I remember Vince told me that you're coming. I'm excited to get to meet you while you're here. But if anyone has any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me. Again, my email is taylor@j3techsolutions.com, or you can reach out to support as well. And I also receive all of those. So you're reaching out to me either way. But I hope you guys have a great afternoon. Thank you so much for joining today. And remember, this recording will be sent out shortly after we conclude here, as well as the presentation slide deck. So if you're interested in printing out that arrangement guidance slide, please do so. I think there's a lot of good information on that for you. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great afternoon.